Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Allie and I do abstract line work. Now a couple of the videos that I've done so far, actually now that I think about it, I've only done a couple. To all of my friends and people that I know who are following me, I thank you very much for being here and following me along on this interesting journey I find myself on. I know I haven't done a video in a really long time. You know, life gets in the way, things happen, people do things that you don't quite like, or you need time to process and figure out where your life's at, or you just have random things happen in your life that you are completely out of your control and there's nothing you can do about it except for either accept it and move on. So yeah, that's kind of where my life is at, but right now, not really here to talk about life, are we? We're here to look at some art and go from there. Now, I'm trying something a little bit different today in that I have a new app called Fresco that I've been, it's called Adobe Fresco, that I've been working in and testing out to see how it would work well with my artwork, right? So actually I think the only software that I've tried so far is Adobe Illustrator, and because I initially thought that it would suit my needs, right? Because it's a vector-based program. It's part of the Adobe suite. It seemed more along the lines of the structure and geometry or free flowing that I was looking for, and I was not right on that at all. I found out that it's kind of more for, it's advertised usually as logo design or something similar to that, and it was just, interestingly enough, it was too much structure for what I needed. So I did some digging and watched a couple YouTube videos to try to figure out what's a free app I can use just to play around with, and that's a little bit more free-formed, but maybe uses vector design, but I can also use pixels or still place images as a reference, things of that nature. And I stumbled upon Adobe Fresco, which is what I'm using right now, and I could not be happier, actually. I've been using it for about, I would give it a couple months or so. I would say that if you are looking to fiddle around with digital art that has vector-based or pixel, I really haven't delved too much in the pixel area, just more or less the vector-based freeform that Adobe Fresco actually has. It's really, really nice, and you can still use layers. It's a free app, free program. You can download in the App Store. I use a Microsoft tablet, so it works and is available for Microsoft, and I believe it is also available on Apple products. But don't quote me on that one. I do not own an Apple product to use this app on. And so far I've really, really enjoyed it. It's been really fun to play with and mess around, and they do have quite a decent bit of tutorial media to get you kind of up and running and figure out how to use the app, and the fact that it's free, right? So I will say that my tablet is touchscreen, and I do have a pen that goes with it. So I'm not using a one of those digital sketch pad assist that's separate from a mouse. So I'm assuming you can use it with a mouse, but it might be a little bit more difficult. So having something that is more on the touchscreen side would probably be beneficial, especially if you have a pen, or if you don't have a pen, but you have a touchscreen, you can use a regular stylus, even though it's not going to be as precise as you think it will be. I highly recommend looking up some videos on how to use Adobe Fresco if you're trying to get a little bit more specific with it. But for the purposes of my artwork, I find it to be really easy, pretty streamlined actually, because I not only can draw my lines in the software, but I can also export it. Like, it does a little time lapse for you, which I thought was a really, really cool and lovely bonus added onto this app. And so like you can export it as I think it has 3 different formats. So you can export it as a PNG, a JPEG, a PSD, or a PDF. And I find that the quality, now because I'm using line work as vectors, it's very smooth and works well with like putting your design on products, or when you want to rescale your artwork. So it's a lot more flexible than a lot of the stuff I've done because it's been physical, like on a piece of pen and paper, which, don't get me wrong, I have missed that a little bit, but the software actually has helped me kind of get out of the funk of, okay, I need to sit down, I need to make sure I have X, Y, and Z for supplies, whereas this I can just bring my tablet, maybe my charger, and just go to town and like just go for it. So it's not as time consuming for me. I mean, the artwork I've noticed has been taking relatively the same amount of time in Adobe Fresco as I would if I were doing this as a physical art piece, which is, honestly, that's kind of what I was looking for. I know practice with a software usually results in getting better and working faster within the software the more you use it and the more you practice with it. Now I have noticed that pretty decently, but I think what gets me in this software is because of the amount of layers I can do and the amount of adjustments I can make versus the physical. I have a little bit more leeway with myself as far as the placement of things or making quote-unquote mistakes in the art piece. Like, I can erase what I've done if I don't like it, or if I want to adjust something, or if the color isn't there, if the line work didn't quite pan out the way I wanted it to. So it gives me a little bit more flexibility and leniency with myself to not be so perfect, just knowing I can go in and edit things when I need to. And that's, I think, been a big relief on my end. Just getting better at creating artwork more consistently, or even just at all. Because lately I have been finding it harder to create. And if you are a creative person, you definitely understand this, where like life shit gets in the way, and sometimes you either can't make the time, or out of all the things that you want to do, maybe taking a nap takes precedence over doing artwork, or just sitting and enjoying your time by yourself or with somebody, or however you take care of yourself. So that's kind of why I ended up trying to find something digital to begin with, and it's free. Like, it boggles my mind that I've been able to produce several pieces of artwork on a free platform where I can just save it, those multitude of file types, and just kind of edit and go from there. And I can create templates. Like, you can do, by templates I kind of mean like the size of the quote unquote piece of paper you're working on. So like my standard is just like the 8.5 by 10 versus like the sketchbook size of the, I think it's 9 by 12, I believe. And that's been really cool too. So I can just copy and paste and do what I want, where there's a border that's already centered and everything, and I can just go to town with what I'm doing. What I find really cool, I feel like I'm just like bragging about this software, but that's okay. I'm excited, and it gets me excited to do artwork, so why not share that with other people? And I don't really care. Y'all can mute me if you want to watch the time lapse and just get a feel for that too. But speaking of time lapse, so that's actually one of the options you can use, or the file you can export is a time lapse. So like it'll do, I'm not sure what the speed is set to. It's just sort of at default or automatically set. So when that file is finished downloading, it might be really fast depending on, like, for me, if I have a super complex line work art piece, it's gonna be really, really slow and it's gonna take forever. But the line work might look incredibly sped up. So what I end up doing, especially for this video in particular, what I would do is I take the exported time-lapse file and I put it into another software to just slow the video down. And I know there are some points, especially in the time-lapse, like where you're editing things, where you might edit it a little too much and like half your picture just like disappears. So if you see any flashing, that's basically what that is. It's a lot of erasing, going, oh crap, I just erased the entire border of this piece, and just hitting the backspace to make it come back to life. So that's probably, that's really cool for me, because this also gives me the ability to make things like this into an actual video versus just having to sit down and record myself doing artwork. Now, if this is a little too boring for some people, I can understand, but I'm just kind of, you know, we're kind of going off the seat of our pants, right? Like, trying different things. Mostly if I like to do it, I'll do it, and if not, then I'll change what I'm doing. It's a learning curve, especially when you're creating content and you're just trying to figure out what works best for you without actually stressing yourself to the point where you just hate what you're doing and you don't want to do it anymore. So yeah, that is kind of my 2 cents on the software I've been using and what my line work is currently progressing towards. And I'm not saying that I'm just going to be doing videos like this where it's just, you know, my voice over a time lapse. For now, it might be the easiest thing for me to do. And I can also speed the time lapse up as well. So like if I make shorts and short media of that nature, I can make it look really cool and put like a fun little music to it. So I guess with that being said, I will let you guys enjoy the rest of this lovely little time lapse, and I will see you in the next one. Leave a comment, follow if you're new here. Again, my name is E.L.L.A. I focus on abstract line art, and yeah, subscribe if you're new, if you want to see more content like this, or just sit back and chat about, you know, today was more technical talk, but you know, sometimes I talk about life shit too. And maybe I'll actually talk a little bit more about my life depending. So yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one.